Yeah.
Top
Okay.
1.4%
So pull your head out of your
utility.
ass, right? Because if you're telling me that you want to win, but you're doing this stuff, I don't believe you. Zach, welcome. Thanks for joining us. How you doing?
Good. So I'll start it off by saying I'm the best, the worst DPS you'll ever see in your life.
You're the best, worst DPS?
Yeah. I have a terrible ego. I will always ego peek everything. So I'm playing Widow in this one. But wait.
Not another one. Come on.
But sometimes, I mean, like, yeah.
You see, we put out the video that was like your passive playstyle is preventing you from climbing, and your aggressive playstyle. But we've already put out the ego VOD. We need your massive insecurities based off of your parental trauma is preventing you from climbing. You don't have any like parental traumas that we can dig into based off of your insecurities just for the YouTube video? No.
Oh, I mean, like I do. I have mommy and daddy issues. I'm the
all right. Yeah, perfect. Okay, like it's like
gotcha.
you just gotta like there's got to be some give and take here just for the YouTubes, you know. But all right,
yeah, of course.
So best worst DPS now in game. In this game specifically, what's your in-game name and what are you playing during this one?
Zoxney, and it's I'm playing the Widow.
Ooh, Deadly, another Widow VOD for you.
Another Widow.
Well,
see, my favorite.
Wait, you get a Widow, you get a Tracer, and you get a Genji for about 2 seconds.
All right, now is there a Tracer on the enemy team that tilts you so much that you shit talk them in all chat and duel them at the expense of winning the game?
No.
Okay, well, Deadly, we're good.
I won't talk in match chat till the end of the game. Or if at all.
Till the end of the game. All right, I appreciate that. So how long have you been playing Overwatch?
Probably 4 years.
4
like a little
years.
bit after it came out.
And so what's the highest rank you've actually made it to?
I've actually only made it to like 3,200, but I really only play placements.
Yep.
I have about like 1,500 hours in the game, and it's majority arcade because I'm a solo player.
Yeah.
So that's actually how I've gotten to know all the characters. I've been playing FPSs for like 10 years, so like as far as the aim and stuff, that's something I'm used to. But
so you're 3,200 just playing placements, and then after that, just like burning hours in arcade. I mean, not burning hours. That's pretty. But just like arcade's your thing, right? That's what you enjoy.
Well, yeah, just because I play solo, I don't actually have a lot of people to like queue with. So I tend to just hop in mystery heroes and just queue up and just try to frag out in there.
And so what are you kind of looking to get out of the VOD? If you don't play a lot of competitive, obviously like our main kind of our main benefit or help is helping people rank up and learn how to play the game a little bit more competitively. So and this isn't meant to be like a leading question or anything, but what are you looking to get out of today's VOD?
Yeah, sure. So I'm actually looking to get out of it the things I'm doing wrong, so I enjoy competitive more, so I could play it more. I tend to, if I don't see what I'm doing wrong, or if somebody doesn't tell me I'm wrong, I won't actually see it. I'm the type of player where if I have to think, I automatically become a bad player.
Yeah, well, that's most of us.
Yeah. So a lot of the times, if I have to talk in game chat, like to my team, you're already like making the DPS player think, and I don't want to do that.
All right. Well, let's. So this game happened recently, so you remember kind of the game, what you were thinking during it, and all that.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. All right, and on Widow, how much are you thinking about kind of the rest of your team, what they're doing, or the composition that you're playing with?
I know there's another Widow on the other team, so it doesn't matter to me.
Fair enough.
Is really what I could say, because like with Widow, it's the it's the 1v1 Widow in the situation. But here, it's kind of my first gameplay or like my first ranked in a while.
Mm-hmm.
So I had just come off of playing arcade, so I still kind of had that arcade mindset. So in a little bit here, you'll see me go up somewhere and then just kind of lose place of where people were.
Yeah. I mean, this is a good angle to be at. Oh, getting pushed by a soldier. Interesting.
I will take like my faith in my aim over anything any day, just because of like that's just how I am, and I don't mean to be.
What do you mean you don't mean to be?
I play a lot of arcade, so a lot of it is like kind of running. Like I like to play arcade as a way to limit test. So I'm in a limit test kind of mode a lot.
Yeah. And
so I
and are
what I
you
wanna
are
get
you
out of
like
it,
thinking that
get out
that's a
of it.
bad thing? Like that limit testing is bad, or
No, it's just limit testing in a comp match is probably bad.
well, I mean, like yes and no, right? You definitely, if you are confident in your aim and confident in your duels, and that's where your strength is, and that's where you practice. You don't want to be coming up with kind of a completely different play style than the one you're practicing. So, especially when you're starting out, like you don't know how good the opposing DPS are. So, kind of like as a DPS, by default, disrespect them, because if you can get away with it,
Always, yeah.
then you may as well continue to disrespect them. But it's like if you go really aggressive at the start, trying to like figure out, all right, how aggressive, how passive do I have to play, and you find out that like the opponent's just a pushover, then that kind of like frees things open. But kind of giving your opponents too much respect right off the start might not be the play here. So
Yeah, I kind of always go into the game with I'm better than you kind of mentality.
yeah, and that's a good one. I think that I was getting the feeling that you were thinking that was a bad thing, but yeah.
I feel like sometimes it can be. If you don't have the team to support you around it, I feel like it absolutely can be.
So this is now your third life. You've struggled to kind of get into a position where you can actually try and be effective or take a duel. The soldiers got that high ground, and he both rushed you once, and then just had the like drop on you from the high ground on the second fight there. So with arcade, like, are there any specific arcade modes that you're playing? I'm not familiar with arcade.
I just play Mystery Heroes a lot.
Okay.
Because I like to know. So a couple seasons ago, I did like a support-only Ana kind of thing, just so I could learn how to play from the supports aspect from DPS. And that's actually how I started to play Ana a lot, because she was a lot of fun. So yeah, it's just a lot of Mystery Heroes. It's just a lot of learning everything.
Okay, I'm gonna watch this next life, and then we'll actually start jumping into the meat and potatoes. So one of the things, just before we get into it, when we're doing this coaching, I'm also screen sharing in Discord, just so there's less of a time lag.
I actually just saw somebody in chat.
Okay, perfect. But yeah, so I think that, and I'm just going to be going off the base of it. Like the first two issues that I'm seeing, and you're a diamond DPS player? Yeah, so you've obviously got some strengths here. And I think that definitely probably your confidence and your mechanics are going to be those strengths. But especially if you're playing Mystery Heroes, the two things that are, I suppose, sticking out to me the most are going to be basically definitely an underdeveloped sense of positioning for the rank, as well as not putting any real thought into what the rest of your team is doing, kind of like where you can retreat to, or where where is safe and where you can kind of project your threats. So positioning is going to be a lot of that one. And I think that the part of that is that, especially in Mystery Heroes with the composition changing up, I assume that you really don't give much thought to it. But yeah, I guess that's the question. When you are playing Mystery Heroes, are you checking what your team is responding as to see how you can make that work, or are you primarily focused on what hero you got and then playing that hero as effectively as possible?
So I'm focused on what hero I got, and that's the main reason why I wanted to do some coaching. So, because everything you said, the positioning, the watching where my team is exactly why.
Yeah.
My positioning, I could tell you, is not the best, but sometimes is like either I'm in a good position and I take myself out of it because I get too hype, or I tend to find myself in the middle of where I shouldn't be a lot, or like away from my support because of Mystery Heroes.
Okay. So I want to pass this one over to Deadly. But before I do, kind of, what is the, it's like you talk about, taking the Widowmaker duo or something. How, in your head, is there like a series of steps that you're going through in order to try and take that duel, or even determine whether you should take the duel, or you just kind of like going forward until you see them and then trying to force the duel?
If that was a question for me, I kind
yeah,
of
it
just
was.
try to find
Okay, sorry. Like, so, how do you get to the point that you like? What do you do? What are the steps that you take in order to try and take the duel with the enemy Widowmaker?
I kind of just go from A to B, and I kind of see Widowmaker, shoot Widowmaker kind of thing.
All right. So, like, I think
I
that's
wish it was more complicated than that, but that's kind of my issue, is that it doesn't become more complicated than that, and I need to learn how to make it more complicated.
yeah. So I think that's probably where I feel is going to be most effective to focus in on this VOD. So Deadly being the higher level DPS coach than me, I'll pass it over to him. But Deadly,
Sure.
if you kind of want to go through the thought process of identifying how like each composition is being played, and then the steps that you would take in order to try and take the duel advantageously, or decide whether to take that in the first place.
Yeah, for sure. So I preach this every single like VOD, every single character, every single role. When you get into the match and you get started, like, and you pick your character and the gates open up, the first thing you should be doing is trying to find information, like figuring out what they have. If anything, just waiting till you can press tab and see what they've got. And then once you see what they've got, then you can evaluate how you're supposed to play. So for example, they have sort of like you're Zoxney, right?
Yes, he
Yeah.
is.
Okay, yeah. So they have Monkey and Diva, right? So like you're not super safe even if you're mildly positioned far back. You have to watch out for dives and things like that. So you have to keep that in mind. Then they have a Widow, so you have to watch out for the Widow duel. Also, they're gonna have a soldier. He's probably gonna be running around shooting things from above, like you being really annoying. You have to keep that in mind. But on the other hand, you have some good targets that you can potentially pick off, and the Mercy, the BAP, and the Soldier, and even the Widow. So, I mean, there's some pretty good targets that you can go for. That being said, right? So when you come out, let's go back to the beginning of the VOD, when the first like position that he takes.
Ready for battle.
Right. So Widow is all about clearing angles and clearing safe positions for you. So the first thing you do is you come out like to the left. So this is fine. You're looking up here. You can keep everything out in front of you. This is good. Like you can see if someone's going to shoot you. That's fine. Now it's getting a little all right. Okay, now good. You just saw these people in the bridge, right? You recognize that there's people in that little room on the end of the bridge, and that's the closest threat to you. So that's what you should be trying to like deal with, whether that's backing up here and peeking out right, peeking in left, something like that. But you just completely ignore this threat and walk in here, and you can play this. Right? You completely ignore this threat to your right, and now take this long angle, right? You didn't clear the bridge, so now there's the threat there, and then they come and take you out. Yeah, absolutely. They got the whole team is on you. Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of really went for me.
Yep.
But it was my fault for being there. I get what you're saying.
100%. Yeah, exactly. I don't know. Maybe you were trying to kill the Widow. You just like your first thought was the Widow.
Yeah, I did take the shot on the Widow before they dove me.
Yeah, and then once again here, right? You haven't cleared this high ground, which was a threat previously. You need to be clearing this, like where this soldier is at. And you don't, and so then you die.
As soon as I died, I went, why didn't I look up there?
Yeah, so it's just got to be a method, like a method, an approach to clearing every angle. Then that's how it's got to be on Widow. That's how you're gonna be the most effective and not get picked off, as well as like especially in a Widow duel, you need to be clearing when you're coming out and you're peeking. You're clearing everything on the left. Like when you're peeking, looking left, you're looking at all the spots that the Widow could potentially be. So when you do peek, then you have the best chance of shooting her if you see her. If you don't know where she's at already, so.
Gotcha. It should be more about checking your surroundings rather than just trying to find the moving thing.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and clearing like this spot, right? That's where a potential enemy could be. And it is obviously a really strong position there on that bridge, and it keeps you from having a really good sight line. So they're going to want to hold that for as long as possible. But it looks like your team got the cart all the way around, which is pretty good for your team.
And I'm almost positive I saw that's what I saw, and then didn't even bother checking high ground, and that was my mistake.
Yeah, okay, cool. So we can keep going now, keep watching the VOD, I think.
Just before we do, Deadly, question for you.
Sure.
So, like, we're clearing these kind of angles or positions, making sure that they're safe as we're kind of, like, moving forward. What happens if we do get into a situation, let's say that this high ground still has, like, a monkey, diva, and a soldier, where we know it's a threat, but individually there's nothing that we can do to actually kind of clear that threat out. What do we do as a Widowmaker?
You have to play really far back. Like, you're just going to play really far back and poke at them and force them to either come onto you or go the other way. So, like, I'm imagining if you looked like to your left here, like look to the left, like even on the top left far back, like here, like anything like shooting from back here or the lower ground from the bottom left spawn, just like shooting at them, forcing them back. Because if there's 3 people trying to come onto you, if you force them all the way to your spawn, then hopefully your team will win the 5v3 if 3 people are on you in your spawn.
But see this next life though, I do hit a pretty sick shot.
Yeah, 2 nice shots,
yeah.
I think.
I do see what you're saying. I tend not to go for the angles and rather than the just down the middle approach.
Yeah, once again, so you're stepping like right out in the middle, and like they could be shooting from above you. There's dangers all to the left, of straight ahead, and to the top right. Here, this is good, right? So like, pause right there. Like, kind of go back. Look how he kind of peeks out. He doesn't take a super wide angle here and expose him to like the right high ground, the middle high ground. He's just like looking over at the blue boxes when he first comes around the corner, like checking to see if somebody's there, and the Widow is there, so he hits the shot. That was a good example of kind of just like coming out, checking a spot, and then if there's nobody's there, then you move. But if you wanted to go back like 10 seconds.
That pole would be dead, by the way, if you saw that.
I'm ready to release my primal rage.
Luckily he missed.
We
Whatever, we
dodge
take
those.
those.
We
take
dodge
those.
those. We crouch those. The Widow duel is actually something I find myself more confident in because as I'm waiting in queues, I am playing the Widow headshots.
Okay, yeah.
So I tend to find myself looking for the Widow if I see one on the opposite team because I'm already used to her hitbox and where I should be flicking to and whatnot.
Yeah, totally. I mean, if you can eliminate the Widow, then you're just free for the most part.
Yeah.
To at least peek the long angle and not have to worry about being eliminated. And so right now you're in a pretty good spot. And I'd say this position is good. It's good that you came up here.
I just didn't go.
But you're also
you're
also getting very like wide, right? You're not playing to a space that you can retreat to be safe. For example, just the doorway. If you're playing out of the doorway, it's probably a little bit better than playing so far out here because if anyone shoots at you, there's nowhere for you to go.
So the reason I tend to step away, especially at this angles, is because of the left-hand peek thing. So I wanted to try to get to the left of that box to cut off that sight line. And
okay, that's good.
When I get killed by her, it's actually just like she's just peeking over it. Pretty sure.
So you were trying to step into the open to close off that angle. You just didn't get far enough over.
Okay, yeah, no, that's totally good then. Yeah, for sure. Okay, yeah, you had a second to see her there, but didn't quite. That's okay. Looks like your team might be able to finish this off for you. It's good that you're using natural cover to close off sight lines as well.
Like I said, the best works DPS because I'll forget fundamentals, but then I'll do things that like you wouldn't typically think somebody would do.
Oh yeah, you're one of those people who's just got really good mechanics that bails them out of shit decision making.
Yes, yes.
People like you drive me fucking crazy.
Yes.
I can go like completely outplay a person with 2 shots and they're like 180 headshot. I'm like, oh. I hate people like you.
Dude, I'm a fox player in melee. What do you expect?
Sniper, leave this to me.
Okay. So, died to a monkey, and then to a soldier. It's alright, looks like your team is losing that. Okay, nice shot. Looks like your team's losing that team fight anyway.
Mechanics, shit decision making.
Alright, do you see it? You're peeking out? Okay, alright. Alright. Well, it's just like you're peeking out. You're not paying any attention to the fact like the Widow could be on the ship looking down, you know? Like you're just like peeking straight out to the left. Like there were so many different angles that you could have died from that you just didn't respect that you just kill a soldier.
Right.
Oh my God.
That's my problem. That's my problem is that I get instantly rewarded by bad plays, and then I go, oh, okay. And then I keep doing it, and then I get in the hypey mode, and when I play solo without having like a shot caller, yeah, I'll.
Whoa!
This is what I mean. Wait, just watch. I get out of this. Just watch.
You hit one shot and you're in their back line.
Yeah, but that headshot would have been sick though.
Okay. Jayne.
Yeah.
What are we gonna do, man?
I know this is my problem. Like,
What is he doing? He's double shotting in the middle of the points.
See, okay, so I know that's my problem. But, and it's not I'm doing it purposely, it's just I do it subconsciously because of arcade.
I always like to ask this question, but like, so you're saying that you know it's your problem, right? Do you kind of like, at what point in time do you realize that you were going to do a dumb thing? Do you realize it before you do it and you just find yourself, it's like, I have no free will, it is inevitable, and you just like watch it unfolding in slow motion and be like, this is really dumb, but I can't stop myself? Or is it like, I am currently doing something that I should not be doing, this is not smart? Or is it like, I have done something quite silly?
To go back to your mommy and daddy issues, my therapist tells me it's the first part.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh, don't be sad about it, laugh.
I'm laughing. I don't know why my guests never have as much of a sense of humor as I
Deadly,
do.
have some dark humor, okay? It's 2021, we all hate
Dude,
ourselves.
no, it's fine. It's fine. No, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's just General Chat's popping off. They got the drip issue. Can you handle it?
Big. Hold on a second. Ticket D taught me a hotkey. I've got it.
Yeah, hide chat. But yeah, so like this is just kind of do you want to fix this issue, or are you just like, are you just vibing?
No. It's not that I'm vibing. The thing is if I had like a shot caller in my life, I would be significantly better player.
Okay.
I just need to be
we can try.
I mean,
go ahead, Jayne.
Yeah, I'm going to attack this from a different angle, right? So the thing is that this is like,
be as mean as you want.
I don't want to be mean, but I also don't want to be like talking neuroscience or anything like that. But essentially, with you playing kind of mystery heroes or anything like that, you know, when we're talking about like a competitive game, right? Competitive games have stakes to them. Is that if you make mistakes, these mistakes are punished. And there's something bad that happens. You know, it's like you lose the fight. Not only do you lose the duel, you got eliminated, your team fights one down, they lose the team fight, they lose the game, you lose SR, right? But if you're playing arcade, where like, who the fuck gives a shit whether or not you win or lose in arcade?
See, I do.
Yeah.
And
do you though? Do you really?
I do though, because like, well, it's not so much that I win
Like,
on arcade, it's that when I get the characters I play, I feel obligated to do very well.
So why are you doing that instead of just playing the heroes that you want to play all the time in ranked?
Because I hate myself, Jayne.
Okay, but that's not an answer.
But a real answer is just because like playing solo ranked is kind of boring. And
Okay, so what's boring about it? Why is solo
there's-
ranked boring if you're playing the heroes that you want to play more of the time?
There's a lack of communication. So in my mind, when it comes to competitive, I actually have played competitive like league somewhat. So I know what a team should be communicating as.
Yeah.
And in my brain, if I don't get that, I kind of just revert back to
Not trying or
okay.
giving a fuck.
Well, it's not that I don't give a fuck. It's I become unhinged sort of.
And what does
because-
unhinged mean?
I'll still play hard as hell. Like I'll still play as hard as I can and try to win every single game. But I start limit testing, or I start going way further than I should. Or in that situation with like that Widow, there was kind of no communication happening, and I took the shot, and I was like, oh shit, I'm not in arcade.
And so like
realized
you've
where I
played
was.
competitive league before, and you mentioned playing Fox, so I assume that you've done some like competitive fighting games as well, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so like, you know, League has a lane phase where you're playing a lot more solo, and fighting game is just a solo game in general. But like playing like full out or playing as hard as you can does not mean just like going in and feeding or trying to be a one-man army. If you're trying to like go full out, at that point you're being disciplined. You're playing with the team. You're enabling the rest of your team, and you're being enabled by your team. You can't 1v6. Like there's a point, and it's probably somewhere around Diamond. Like Diamond is pretty famous for DPS who can get there purely off of mechanical skill, not giving the remotest of a shit about team composition or teamwork or anything like that. And that's where they get, because in Masters you actually start having to care about playing like a team. If you get your just like COD guys who just like respawn, run to the fight, try and kill things, die, respawn, repeat, instead of having to worry about team fights or anything like that, Diamond's usually where they cap out until they pull their heads out of their asses, right?
That's who I am. I'm
yeah.
top 1.4%
Okay. So pull your head out of your ass, right? Because if you're telling me that you want to win, but you're doing this stuff, I don't believe you. You can be saying one thing, but your words are going to be a different thing. So, especially if these losses are punishing to you, right? And either you are not valuing them, or like you're not valuing the damage that these eliminations are causing to your performance and your team's performance, or you're just not getting that feedback. Like you're not actually receiving the feedback that what you did was wrong, what you did was bad. And the brain learns really well. Like if you get these headshots, right, it's like dopamine hit, and then you're just like zoomed in, you're like, I'm the best. You get that surge of confidence, and suddenly you're just grappling into their backline because you think that you're an unkillable god. And you want to chain those. And I'm sure there's been a few times where you get a headshot, you get another headshot, you grapple into their backline, and you just like whip 90-degree headshot, and then it feels like you just fucking hit the jackpot in slots, right? But
exactly.
But you're playing in arcade, where it's like, what the fuck is the point of hitting the jackpot if you were playing with paper money, Monopoly money, right?
Right.
You're never gonna have the negative reinforcement of actually putting quarters in the machine until you're fucking bankrupt. Right? You're not going to have the penalty of teams who actually care about winning, having you feeding your brains out to the point that you lose games, then you lose SR, and then you derank. You've taken away any of the stakes that would actually give you negative reinforcement that would actually improve your behavior in a competitive manner.
You're absolutely right, actually. Like that's exactly why I wanted to
Okay,
do
but you already knew that, right? I'm not telling you anything new.
Right, I just don't know how to change that.
Yeah, so the way that you change that is like, because your brain is not a rational thing, right? It's you can consciously be like, I shouldn't be doing this, but you're talking about how, like in your gameplay, it seems to be essentially inevitable that these things occur, right? You need to make sure that when those things occur, you actually get punished for it. And not just punished in the terms of eliminated, but that there are stakes, and that things that you wanted, you do not receive because of those actions.
Mm-hmm.
So,
See, I agree with you, Jayne, because a lot of those issues that you're saying are exactly that in games. Because I am that COD mentality where I am the run and die. So,
do you consider yourself a smart person?
Yes.
Do you consider yourself a talented person?
Yes.
Gifted? All right.
I don't like that word.
You don't like, okay, but you like talented. Okay, so we'll go with talented. So is this point where, are you afraid that if you try, the myth that you are a talented individual might actually be tested and proven wrong?
No, because I do believe that if I tried and put the work in, that I would just get the instant gratification of it working. Because I'm also the type of person where if I can acknowledge something, or if somebody tells me something, it sticks harder than, or I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. If somebody tells me something, even though I know it, it sticks harder because I'm hearing it from someone else. Because I know you didn't want, you didn't want to get neurological, but as someone who actually does have ADHD, there's kind of I go from A to C, there's no B. So if that instant dopamine hit from that headshot goes, I'm hypey until I am punished. So combating that is actually really hard when you also have to be the one kind of calming in team, or calming in chat, or calming in teams too.
Mm-hmm.
Because then at that point I'm focusing on more than one thing, and then my brain just kind of goes, all right, do whatever.
Yeah. So you're smart enough to invent these problems. You're also probably smart enough to solve them. I'm just going to assume, right?
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pass this off to Deadly to move this
Yeah.
back into the.
Sure. So where do we how do we make a practical solution with what Jayne said, right? Make it so when doing these things, grappling into the middle of Gibraltar with zero cover whatsoever and getting headshot actually has consequences, right? That hurt. Right? And so I think the easiest way to do that is to like set goals, right? Like say I want to get master and I want to do it this season, and I will do these things to do that. I will play more than my placement matches, right? And I think for people that don't like playing solo comp, they find it more enjoyable once they have set goals and attempt to achieve those goals, because then you have a reason to play. Like right now, I don't know if you even have a reason to play, because you're mainly playing arcade, which is fine. You find that more enjoyable, but if you can set some sort of goal for yourself, then you'll have a reason to play. And then when you do lose these matches, and it's going to hurt a little bit because you're not stepping towards your goal. At least that's how it works for me. And I know a lot of people I've coached, that's how it works. It's worked for. So I think it's up to you, right? Do you want to set those goals? And do you want to like feel the pain or the happiness that comes when you do achieve those goals? Or do you just want to keep your head stuck up your ass, like Jayne said, and keep doing whatever you want?
Yeah.
No, so actually, I do want to achieve those goals because I actually went from like really only playing placements to the past couple seasons. Like I've been feeling the urge to play competitive more often. So I also believe that whether or not it's on DPS, healer, or tank, I could get to Grandmaster if I could just turn my brain on and use any bit of game sense.
Okay,
is-
so
I
you're saying
do have
like,
goals.
yeah, no, you're saying I
absolutely.
can get to Grandmaster. You're not saying like I want to. I'm going to get to Grandmaster, right? There's sort of like a difference there. You're saying like, oh, it's like a possibility if I did these things.
Yeah, if
You're
I
not
wanted
saying,
to, I have the potential
Yeah,
to.
exactly.
I am talented enough to.
Yeah, but there needs to be a shift in your mentality to say like, I want Grandmaster, so I will do these things. Like I will play comp seriously. I will turn my brain on.
Right. Okay.
And you don't have to even like you don't have to put stakes on it in terms of we don't want to be doing the kind of thing where it's like I'm going to hit masters this because like let's make sure that the goals are actually like short term and achievable.
100%. I
so
agree.
let's say that your first goal, which you should say, is that you're like I'm going to get masters, right? So, but you don't have to like say, but like oh if I don't get it, I'm going to like burn $100 bill or anything. Just like to you, right? Just like take it out of the realm of possibility or out of the realm of the potential. Because like potential is completely worthless until you actualize it. So like actually just commit to yourself. Like if you think that you can get to masters, prove it. Right? I am going to get to masters. Not I'm going to try. I'm going to get to masters. Right? And then turn the kind of part of your brain that is inventing excuses and problems that don't matter, and put that part of your brain to solving the problem about how to get to masters instead of fantasizing about how you could be grandmaster if you cared enough to try.
So that I don't really like that phrase because it's not that I don't care enough to try. It's just I'm just not motivated enough to try because I feel like going into a game and telling or saying that I don't care enough is really shitty for my other 5 teammates. So it's not that I don't care. It's just that I kind of lose.
Okay, so let's invert that. If
to.
you cared more, would you play differently?
See, that's the thing because I care about winning the game regardless. I can't say that I can care more about it because I do care about it.
Okay.
It's the process of getting there. It's the process of how to, if something happens, how to not then ego peak someone for the rest of the game because I feel like I have to, where it's back to reverting. Okay, reset, get behind your team, play by your supports, and play from there instead of play solo because like you got tilted a little bit or because people aren't playing how you think they should play.
Yeah.
So my big thing is getting past that part, and if I could get past that part, whether or not I do belong in Masters or anywhere else. At least I'll know that because I would have been able to get past the thing that was holding me, or what I thought was holding me back.
Okay. So the thing that I would want to introduce into your gameplay, moving to more like practical skills and approaches to the game that might change this, is that I'm like, have you ever heard of the concept of marginal advantage?
I have heard of it, but I don't know really anything about
Okay.
it.
So marginal advantage is a concept that basically it was shown that the people who win tournaments, like world tournaments, national tournaments, anything like that, they usually won by very slim margins. And the people who won by a lot, like complete blowouts, were a lot more inconsistent and were less regularly become champions. And you can kind of see this, like if you're watching AlphaGo play Go or anything like that, is that one of the best strategies that you can have from a purely competitive standpoint is to get to a 51% advantage and then maintain that. So it's kind of like any kind of play you're having, if you're doing like a risk-reward sort of play style, right? Is that you want to play in some way where you can get a very, very small advantage, and then basically the idea is that plays that have a chance of gaining you an advantage also have a chance of losing you advantage because there is going to be a higher risk for a higher reward. So if you want to be like an extremely clinical and disciplined player, essentially how you approach these games is by playing extremely, extremely low risk and low reward gameplay, and then waiting for an opponent to make an unforced error, capitalizing on that so you get a 51% advantage. And if they make another unforced error, you get a 52% advantage, but you're playing safe. And a lot of this also comes down to the related concept of min-maxing, which is minimizing the maximum damage that can be dealt to you, not just classic optimization. It's a different game theory approach to this. Whereas the only time that you're going to be pulling off riskier plays is if you or your team are put at a disadvantage, right? So if you're at a theoretical chance of like 49% of winning the game or a 48% winning the game, at that point you are going to play riskier and riskier and riskier in order to try and make plays that don't capitalize on unforced errors and just force the opponent to either make a mistake or just completely outduel them until you get back into the advantage. Now, in kind of the game, you're never going to have like an on-screen, like you're not going to have a number that's like you have a 51% chance of winning this game, right? It's going to be a lot more of feel because like when you're fighting, for example, in Escort, you're fighting for like time and distance. You're not really fighting for eliminations. You're not really fighting for team fights or anything like that because at the higher levels, there's ways of abusing team fights to make them last longer or make them conclude faster in order to have those things go in your benefit. So you want to be playing in ways where you are just maintaining the slight advantage and that you're showing no weakness or no chance for the opponent to actually, get a large amount of value for free. So if you're wanting to take like a really clinical and disciplined approach, you only get to play risky and aggressive once you have advantage. And once you have that advantage back by kind of gambling, then you go right back to the very clinical, disciplined play, and you are just making sure that you have progress, making sure that the damage being potentially done to you and your team's progress towards actually winning the game as a whole at a strategic, objective level is what is being prioritized. Does that kind of make sense?
It does, because if I'm able... I understand what you're saying, because if I'm able to like min-max my damage output and how much damage I'm taking, it also kind of affects the rest of the team. So like a lot of what you said makes a lot of sense because these are all like concepts of the game that I can understand, but don't know how to apply.
Yeah, and we can work on that, right? So we can work on kind of like, when are you playing passive? When are you playing aggressive? When are we going and trying to purely capitalize on unforced errors and just putting in our positions where we have a very high optionality to make the decisions? So, when an opponent makes a mistake, we are able to capitalize that instead of trying to force a specific duel proactively. There's ways that you can play that. And then if, for example, you do have a tank that's feeding, or your support is brain dead, or your other DPS is constantly losing all these duels, and you're never wanting to like cover other people, but you are going to have to make higher risk, higher tempo plays in order to try and maintain your advantage. And if you lose those, right, things are going to go even worse. But it's like that's where especially your mechanics are going to come in, and your mechanics are what are going to allow you to get into riskier tactical situations and prevail regardless. So this is going to be kind of like, your strength as a player, if we were to really kind of coach you longer term and really kind of push this through, you would be kind of the kind of player who would be able to clutch lost fights when necessary. But outside of that, when there is kind of like even fights or when you're the advantage, you are the stone wall that provides no opportunities for comeback. So you clutch lost fights or losing games, but you make sure that the opponent never, ever has the ability to clutch or come from behind. And if we can get you to play that play style instead, you'll be absolutely dominant, and Masters is going to be a stepping stone.
Right. And it's that's everything you're saying is just so funny because it's describing my gameplay in like almost every game. And in some of them it works better than others, and in some of them I get very much punished for it. So Overwatch is one of the ones where I get punished for it, but I don't change it because then the next game I get immediately rewarded for it.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, the COD players,
right,
where running whatnot, I'm used to high pace. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, and it's like, and one of the reasons, it's like, it's literally like queuing up for another arcade game is just like, pulling the handle on a slot machine that you didn't have to pay for, right? When you lose, it doesn't matter. You just pull again until you get that dopamine hit until it works, right? But that's, if you want to be competitive and not just fuck around, you got to change that.
As a high level DPS, Deadly, did you find yourself at this point at any time where you were in like Diamond at any point where you thought like, all right, my mindset either has to change or I'm not going to climb? And if so, how did you overcome that?
Yeah, I mean, so mainly, I get stuck like in like the 3,800 to 4,000 SR range is like notoriously known as like a kind of difficult place to get out of, but also something where I thought I was a better player than that, and then kind of goes into a different mentality thing where I was frustrated I was there, and then I was disrespecting my opponents, and then it's just like you have to catch yourself and recognize that it goes a lot with what Jayne said, is like you just have to play as optimal as possible. And if you play as optimal as possible, put in as many games as you can, you will eventually climb out of it with a positive win rate. I don't need to do crazy things to try and win these games. I just have to play optimally. So I think I wanted to break down a little bit what he said and apply it to like gameplay with Widow specifically. What is playing Widow optimally with low risk, low reward? It's clearing all of your angles, making sure you're not going to get shot or jumped on, playing slow, being a constant threat to the enemy team. If at the beginning of every fight you're going for a 1v1 and if you don't kill her, now your team is at a severe disadvantage, right? And if you do kill her, then your team is at a great advantage, right? But it swings so much in either way that it's just not the optimal play style that you want to be going for every single time. You want to be taking these fights slow and methodically. Go ahead. What was your question?
How do you weigh that in your mind as a DPS player on whether or not you should just be going for the Widow, or if you should be playing more of a passive play style? Or should you always be playing that more passive?
You should always be going for the Widow, because when you eliminate the Widow, it allows you to play really aggressive in the 1v1. Like you should always know where their Widow is at. Like that's in the 1v1, that is like the first thing you want to do. You want to know where she is at. And then when you have the information from where she is at, you either A, line of sight her and shoot at her team, or B, kill her so then you can kill the rest of her team.
Yep. So now this is not going to happen in ranked, right? So I'm going to go all the way to like pro theory, just to kind of give you at least something to chew on. So if you're talking about like Widowmakers at the high level play, understanding where the Widow is at all times is absolutely mandatory. It's going to be one of the first things that every team works on at a team-based level. It's like until the team does not really engage unless they're doing some way that will get them scouting information on where that Widowmaker is. But then there's kind of like there's 4 modes that you can use when you're dealing with the opposing Widowmaker. You can just kind of force the duel, where it's like you are going to play in such a way that the opponent has no option but to fight you. So that is a forced duel. And then what you can do is you can also play in a position where you basically propose a duel, where it's going to be like, I am going to get value by shooting the tanks and the supports and things like that. And then if you duel me, I will accept that duel. right? And then, so if you have the opposing Widowmaker proposing a duel, you know, they're playing in a way where it's like, this happens a lot in Pharah as well. You can have kind of like a situation where it's like duel proposed, right? You have both pharmacies, and then instead of dueling each other, they're just both shooting each other's tanks and supports. But at any point in time, kind of one Pharah can choose to duel instead. So there's this kind of like situation where one person has the option to either accept the proposed duel or reject it. And then there's the other situation where, for whatever reason, I won't get into specifics why, even if you know where the Widowmaker is, you're going to be ignoring her and avoiding the duel. So even if she tries to propose a duel, you're like, nope. You know, you just keep closing the angles or avoiding her. And there's going to be a lot of different situations. And like, really the only time that you're going to play in like a complete Widow decline area is where, like, you know that they are just dramatically better than you. You've been losing every single duel, but for some reason you still need Widowmaker. But for most of the times, if you are in a situation where, you know, actually taking that duel is just going to put you at a disadvantage, normally you just swap. But those are kind of like the 4 different ways. You can have, you know, force the duel, avoid the duel, or kind of propose and then accept or decline that duel. And you have to kind of know which one is optimal in the situation. And like, actually knowing those is not going to be something that Deadly nor myself are going to be able to explain simply. There's going to be a lot of context and a lot of experience required in order to know kind of what you should be taking this duel. And it's not like 100% of the situation, take the duel and then win the duel. It's, you know, the question also needs to be asked, should you be taking this duel in the first place? And if so, how?
Gotcha. I'm just writing this down too, so
Yep, for sure.
I don't
Cool.
respond right away. Okay, awesome. But I will say this game does go 4-3, so you might want to.
Yeah.
We don't have to go through all of it, but
yeah, I think I think we kind of recognize that, once again, it's one of these issues. 1, you don't play ranked enough. 2, your mindset's not proper. So you have to fix your mindset, or we're trying to help you with your mindset, and then get you to play more ranked, because if you do, you will probably rank up. It's sort of the thing. I think that me and Jayne are both on the same page here.
For sure.
I do want to go to one part of this where I do switch to Tracer.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure. Go ahead.
Just gotta find it. I'm not sure where it is.
Oh yeah, found it.
We don't look at that, Genji.
Okay, why did you switch off of Widow?
Because good question. I don't. That's my. Sometimes, like, if I wasn't popping off, I just switched.
Okay.
And it was a bad choice, and the choice that I made from Genji was also, it wasn't a bad choice. It's I then, like, I was useful. It's just I didn't finish kills because I just couldn't do it for some reason. So I think I had 1 life, 1 blade, and then switched off.
Okay.
Sometimes I'm feeling the Genji. I was sort of feeling it in the beginning, and then I kind of lost that hype to play Genji.
Sure. Okay, so stop. Look at their team. How do you play Tracer? What do you have to watch out for?
So the thing that I'm watching out for here is I actually hear the Doom ult, so I'm just trying to see where that's going, because if that drops on my Ana, I'm just going to kind of drop on him.
Okay.
But in this case, he drops behind us, and I chase.
Sure, that's fine. Okay, just how does Tracer match up against their team though? Like individually, each character, stuff like that. What do you think your job is in this composition?
So it would be more. I would be more to dive the supports, or I would go for the supports here, or I would try to find the Widow and try to kill the Widow.
Can you kill Moira and Lucio?
Yes, but you do see a lot of the times I go after, they're kind of just healers, and I don't quite aim high enough for the head. That's another.
Okay, so you can't kill them.
I do though. So like sometimes it's hard to explain because I can kill them. It's just a lot of the situations in this game you'll see. That
is it? I guess the question is it optimal to kill a Moira or a Lucio as Tracer?
Yeah, I mean, to me it is, because Moira is pretty easy to kill, and so is Lucio for the most part.
Okay, well, if they're easy to kill, go for it. But generally on the tier list of supports that Tracer wants to be killing, Moira and Lucio are really low onto that. Number 1 would be Zenyatta. Obviously,
Yeah.
he's a round boy. 2 would be probably Ana. You can catch her out a long times. And then 3 is sort of like Baptiste, Moira are kind of there. And then like at the bottom below that is like Lucio and Brig are really difficult to kill. Unless you can get like a pulse bomb on Brig now. She's a little bit easier, but yeah. So
I will say
what
Tracer
you
is kind of my comfort pick. Is probably why I reverted back here.
okay. So I think what I do want to get you onto to recognize is it is your job in this matchup to take out the Widowmaker, because there's nobody on your team that can contest her whatsoever. And Tracer does a pretty good job taking out Widowmaker since Widow only has 175 HP. So your number 1 job is to kill the Widowmaker. Outside of that, you're welcome to farm the Hog when you see opportunities, as well as chase Doomfist when he's out of cooldowns is fine. But generally, you're not going to be able to kill the backline very easily. So if you've killed the Widow, then you're free to do whatever you want. But you need to like shut down that threat. So I guess let's go ahead and watch and see.
Yeah.
I actually think you'll be pleasantly surprised by the Tracer gameplay.
And one of the things is just like, even if you're able to kill Lucio's and Moira's at this elo, it's because they're bad and making mistakes. And if you're wanting to climb, you have to keep priorities, because it's like, are you going to be able to kill a Masters or a Grandmaster or a top 500 Lucio or Moira on Tracer? It's going to get proceedingly more and more difficult. So, you don't want to be doing things just because they work at your elo. You want to be doing things because they're the right thing to do.
Right, I think I just need to figure out when the right thing to do is.
Down for the count.
I am ready to activate the sound barrier.
He got bopped.
So like what I want to see immediately is like kind of going to the high ground and finding where the Widow is and killing Widow, or contesting her first and then annoying her team. So we can just keep going.
I could use some healing.
Okay. Already like positioning wise and stuff, right? You're not taking any advantage. You're playing like low ground with your team. This is so not super like what I want to be seeing right now. But go ahead. Tracer, the Widow is dead, so that's fine. You're right. Okay, pause. Right. So if you'd taken some time to go like earlier, you could have easily been in the ship right now, playing from the left side where the mini is at, and then coming out to this bridge and being an annoying presence from a separate angle. Tracer's strength is her mobility and her ability to play from different angles and create pressure there. So
being
positioning...
up on the ship there will give me the ability to kind of angle and shoot them down there. And once I see the Widow, I can kind of just triple blink onto her.
Exactly. Yeah. Or
Gotcha.
You don't necessarily have to triple blink straight onto her, but then you'll see where she's at. And then getting on top of the ship allows you mobility to wherever you want in this entire map with like 3 blinks. But the thing is, you just want to be creating another angle of pressure with her, because that's what she's so good at, right?
Right.
So let's go ahead.
The whip full spun.
Okay. Yeah, I'm getting total mayhem vibes. Like that, like there was no reason like you went necessarily for that pulse bomb there. That was like totally a trick shot sort of pulse bomb. Not a high percentage pulse bomb.
Well, yeah, you're right. I saw the Moira there, so I thought if I could stick him, it would bop on. He would hop onto the Moira. So, but yeah, it was a very how do you say it? It was just a risk I didn't need to take.
Yeah, I mean, I like that you're attempting to use it fairly quickly when you get it. I think a lot of tracers like hold their pulse bombs for too long. No, but what you should be doing, right? You should be building your pulse bomb, getting it, and then attempting a high percentage pulse bomb, like setting yourself up for that. And then like once again here, like you get so overextended into their team, not playing a position that you can escape from, and then you end up dying. Obviously, when your team died, they used beat. You probably were going to lose this fight anyway. But like you did not. You could have been playing from a position that was annoying, like on the high grounds, etc.
And it's funny because the thing you said about going after the Widow. Like I 50% did that, and then 50% forgot about my team.
Yeah.
So it's more about just being aware of where people are. I didn't even notice we lost that fight until I died.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I could see that you were very much into the gameplay, going for the pulse bomb and stuff.
Yeah, dude. I get really into it, and that's what I mean. If there's no one like to shot call it, or if I have to think about shot calling it, I kind of get mayhemy.
Yeah, so you're just committing so hard here, and you're in their backline with like one blink and no recall. Like I don't know why your team is over there, but like you're lucky there.
Yeah, I didn't get punished for it, and that's exactly why I until now didn't like think that was wrong. And being told it was wrong.
But do you see why? Do you see it's wrong though? Like this is good.
Yes.
I mean, so like say you had started this fight, like behind them, right? With all of your cooldowns and your teams in the front, and then you kill the Widow and you get out. That's excellent, right? But like the whole getting to this point was like really.
You're gonna be so
great.
upset when I don't kill this Widow because I don't melee her.
Well, I mean, no, because like we're not concerned about your mechanics at this point. It's not the reason that you're, you know, like your mechanics are not the thing that are holding you back. So if you make a mechanical error at this point, I mean, Deadly and I are both going to be like disregarded. Right? It's not a problem.
Right.
Your mechanics are the best part of your gameplay. So if they're not like top 500 level, we're going to be like, oh, you should have meleeed her. It's that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But just one thing I wanted to add on is that it's sounding to me like you're using the fact that there are no shot callers as an excuse for shit awareness, right? So even if nobody's shot calling, you need to be aware of where your team is, where the enemy team is, what their intentions are, what your goal is. So yeah, I mean, not having a shot caller is not an excuse for bad awareness.
You're right. I feel like I need to not having a shot caller needs to be more me understanding where my team is and just following them through that.
You want to talk about this, Deadly?
Man, I mean, it's just
Can
more
I say
of the
one
same.
thing before you do?
Go ahead.
I actually didn't understand that I shouldn't go after Moira and Lucio until you said it.
Okay.
So you're gonna see a lot of that, and I didn't really know that they were lower on the kill tier list.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
now
well,
that
I mean,
understand
So
that,
even
yeah.
outside
said-
of the... Go ahead, Deadly.
Yeah, no, it's just like you said that you killed them, and all I've seen twice on the second point and this third point is like you're shooting them a lot, but they're not dying, and then you're using all of your cooldowns and having to run away.
But I did say that. I said that they were healing each other, and I
Yeah.
didn't wind up killing them. But
So
there are
outside
a
of the
couple
fact
kills
that these
on them,
two
but you're right,
supports are Moira and Lucio, they're also like amongst the middle of the team, and you used a large amount of resources going in here. So like you put yourself inside of the opponent's area of control, right? So you were trying to fight them from like here, where you lost vision and awareness on the D.Va and the Roadhog. So if they turned around to fight you and stop you from killing their supports, you wouldn't know until resources and damage and probably death was already on your way. And and so your mechanics are really good. I mean, you almost killed the Moira and the Lucio, right? That's pretty impressive. Your tracking earlier, you have very, very smooth and precise tracking. Your tracking is good enough for Grandmaster. I mean, I don't think Deadly...
No, you're not good enough for Grandmaster. You got to get better.
His mechanics, just purely off the tracking. Just purely off the tracking.
But like I said, my game sense, because I didn't even know that this McCree was here. All I thought that was, oh, health pack, and then I could keep going.
So let's go back. Let's talk about this, right? So how could you play this differently instead of like going into their backline trying to kill their supports? What do you think is a alternative?
Well, it probably would have been before this part. So after they capped the payload, I was back there already with that Moira. I probably could have snuck back there either a little bit more and just stayed kind of hidden and stopped trying to go after their supports.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Or
no,
I could have
that's fine.
just tried to hit it from a different angle where I was in the back, and I could probably be where I am now and just wait for them to push up a little bit so I could dive the Widow.
Or what about like go free cam and show kind of this point here? See that like that. What if you set up on like that top right high ground over there? Just go forward a little bit, Jayne, to the top right.
Oh,
no. Yeah, like up here. What if you like set up right here, wait for your team, and then like you could also blink over to the other high ground and be shooting from there? I really want you to start thinking about how you can abuse annoying positions, right? And so then you play these positions, right? And then when you see an opportunity, that's when you commit your cooldowns. And then you kind of play within like your rights, right? That's how you should be playing Tracer. You shouldn't be like trying to commit and make things happen. You shouldn't be relying on having to hit a 1-clip or 2-clip on a Lucio that's going to get healed, or a Moira.
So don't make things happen.
You don't
just
have to
kind of
force things
respond
to
them,
happen
yeah.
all of the time. You create pressure by playing these angles. If you see an opportunity to try and go for like a 1-clip or something, you can blink out, go for the 1-clip, and just press E, and then you're in a safe spot back on the high ground.
Okay, so use basically natural advantages to be able to do that. I
Yeah.
don't do that a lot, and that's something that I consciously know I don't do, but don't know where the best advantages are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so that's going to take practice and time and playing and figuring those out yourself. If you're asking yourself when you get into a match on Tracer, like, okay, how can I take this fight and be annoying? It's not going to be sitting with like your Orisa. It's be like, okay, maybe I'll play from the left side over here and shoot them from over here a little bit, or take this high ground and I can jump on top of them, look for pulse bombs, that kind of thing. But yeah, let's go ahead and keep going, I guess.
I think
If you got
also
much
my
or something.
biggest issue on Tracer is the acknowledgement of her range. I tend to play Tracer a lot of in the face kind of gameplay, and I have to realize that, you can just pepper damage from like mid range.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So again, I mean, that was a fine attempt at killing the diva. I don't know what
that was fine.
Yeah, I
didn't really
actually
stick
don't
on
know
it.
how that didn't stick.
I'm not sure either, but that's okay. Like the idea is right, and that's what and once again I said I'm happy that you're using your pulse bombs often when you get them, just as long as you're using it at a high percentage play. This was probably a pretty high percentage play to kill the diva. I'm not sure what happened, but you can go ahead and keep going.
In this situation too, I think I should have looked at the McCree instead of the supports for sure.
Yeah, I just don't think you should have gone in at all. But
yeah, if I did go, I don't. You're right.
No, I don't
probably
think
shouldn't.
there is no if. Like you just shouldn't have gone in. Like see where your team is at and see where you are at.
Mhm.
So if you see
you're right. There's no reason I should have went in, especially after we just demeched her.
So Deadly talked about one of the situations where you can go after, like if you are sitting on this high ground or this high ground, for example, and then you see somebody that you can potentially very quickly get the duel on or try to assassinate, you can go for that, right? But if you're not finding that opportunity, the next thing that you can wait for just in general is for kind of like the tanks to engage each other in a way that it prevents them, if the tanks, you basically put the tanks in a situation where they either have to continue fighting the front line or try to turn and peel for the back line, but your front line is still applying pressure and being involved in the fight. So if you are trying to actually participate in a team fight, your engagement timing has to depend on waiting until the rest of your team is also engaged, and that they, just like waiting for this payload to push up a little bit farther so the rest of your team are actually fighting, puts it in a situation where the opponent just can't, 1v6 you, and then 6v5 the rest of your team. So if you're able to actually just, not find an unforced error, but just wait until your team is fighting as well to go in and consistently stay committed, you have to wait until the actual fight has broken out.
So TLDR of that is basically get out of the 1v6 mindset.
Yeah,
yes.
Completely. Yep. Wait until your team, your tanks, like, and so like I've been doing an unranked to GM on Tracer only, and basically the literal, like, if you want to take one thing that anyone can learn from it is like engagement timings on Tracer, not 1v6. Play when you have some sort of advantage from your team or something, right? And here it's 1v6.
Yeah.
So a lot of the things actually that I've seen high level tracers do is, the blink off of high ground into like the 1-clip or whatever. And a lot of the times I'm like, why am I not just doing that? But it's, I think I don't know how to apply it correctly. So I just tend to ignore it. So I think hearing you say it though is important, because as somebody, it's actually great that you're doing an unranked Grandmaster or whatever with Tracer, because you've worked it from 0 to like going up. So to me, you understand it more than somebody who just kind of just like plays Tracer at a high level.
Yeah.
So especially
sure.
at my level that I'm at now, like You're right. It's more about engagement timings, and it's the 1v6 mentality has to drop. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess we can keep going then,
Yeah.
Jayne. I'm not
Just
sure
one
how...
of the other things. Like, I just wanted to kind of reinforce that you are in the middle of the team, and if we are going to be working on your awareness is going to help if you keep the opponents inside of the actual frame, right? So if you assume that there's like a circle, a lumpy circle, I guess, drawn around the team, you got to kind of stay outside the circle. There's going to be very, very few opportunities where you're actually playing inside of an enemy team where there's people who can fight you, who you have your back turned to them. So instead of kind of fighting, even if you are going to quote unquote 1v6, right? Instead of fighting the Lucio and the Moira from this position, you should at least be fighting them from this position so that if the Diva, the Hog, and the McCree start fighting you, you can be aware of the threat visually instead of having no warning about that threat potentially being added on to your engagement.
And then they have to face me, and then my team can hit them. Etc.
Yes.
Yeah, what you're saying, the out of the frame thing, I got completely lost when I was in there, and that's why I'm just like, oh shit, there's a McCree.
Yeah. Hello.
Bro, I'd be completely lost.
If you could
There's
play
no
like
way.
the JoJo thing to be continued right here,
Yeah.
it'd be perfect.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like, yep.
Yeah.
That is almost died to the flashbang.
Oh, I do next time, don't worry.
Okay, look, you're playing wide open. There's a Widowmaker there. Okay, she missed, probably.
I got booped into the high, dude.
Yeah. There's also no reason you can't be shooting from range right there.
No reason not. You couldn't be. Yeah, for sure. Jerry? Jerry's got 2 picks.
Dude, Jerry was popping.
Jerry is a good DPS player.
Yeah,
Good stuff
and
from
it's kind
Jerry.
of another reason why I was alright with playing the way I was playing, which is the wrong thing.
100%. Because when you're carrying as DPS, right, and your other DPS is doing nothing, like you want them to start doing things so you don't have to kill 6 every fight.
Yeah, I mean the thing is that's when playing this game, I was just like,
Yeah.
I'm doing enough to where he's popping off, and then I can clean up after. But
So look
like-
at your. Let's go straight. Look at your positioning now. Like how else now after talking to us? Like how would you like try and like position before this fight now?
I mean, I would just go up to the high ground where that bridge is.
This
Either
one?
that one or that. No, the one over there.
Yeah,
Be-
yeah. This
'cause I can't
one's
see
pretty
anything
good.
from that
As
one.
long as you have blinks to like get over to get back to your team, this is good. Playing from the kind of low ground over here is good with a escape to the right. Any
I-
sort of off angle creating pressure is good.
And then I could blink over to
If
that
not-
top over there. and
Yeah,
hit
just
him
not
from over.
stacking with your tanks. Mm-hmm. Yeah, good. All right, let's continue.
Really nice flash.
Nice old hog. I mean, this is a good
Okay.
flank.
Yeah, now we're getting some angles, and you're taking out the Widow. It looks like you will potentially. Okay, you could have waited like 2 seconds, and you would have been able to kill her.
Also, you were blinking up the stairs on the flank. Blink is very loud, and
Yeah.
that would have given your position away, right? So there's
Agreed,
also ways on Tracer where Tracer has Tracer's really good in that you don't actually have to hold crouch. If you just like tap crouch every kind of half second or every second, it quiets her footsteps quite a bit. So if you're trying to like sneak up on people, you can just instead you don't want to blink because blink is very loud. Will give you away your position immediately. But you can just kind of like be walking and then just like tapping crouch, like tap tap tap, and it makes you quieter, quiet enough that almost nobody will be able to hear you sneaking up from behind or on this side. So
So I do get. Blink management is actually my biggest downfalls on Tracer. But here I actually do get immediately punished for going after the Widow too.
you get punished for it. I mean, you already got the kill. At this point, everything else is gravy.
But my team gets punished for it.
No,
No, I don't think they're related.
You existing there
Oh,
and
they
you
got a
killing the
3-man
Widow
bomb,
does
never
not
mind.
change anything.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's like this is kind of like they're separate things. Your team dying to a diva bomb, that's their problem, their fault. Like you being there, I mean, what are you gonna do to help out, right? You are doing your job, and you've done your job. This is probably one of 2 situations in this VOD that we've seen so far that you've done your job and done it well.
Agreed.
Yeah. So, yeah, just because like your
don't feel
team
bad
failed
about
at their
saying that.
job
I'm
doesn't
here
mean
for
that you
coaching.
didn't do your job.
Yeah. And it's a team game, right? Your team is going to fail occasionally.
Yep.
And it's up to you to do your job as consistent as possible. And,
Yeah.
and it just so happens the one time you did your job, your team lost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
Like you have to assume that when your tanks fight their tanks, 50% of the time your tanks are going to win, 50% of the time they're going to lose. You know, when your supports are doves, 50% of the time they're going to survive, 50% of the time you're going to die. You can only control your job, and you just want to make sure that your job, you're not trying to win 100% of the duels. You're just trying to win that 55% or 60% of the duels, so that as the duels and the team fights stack up, at the end you just performed better enough to win, right? But your team is, they're going to lose some duels, they're going to lose some engagements. The matchmaker tries to enforce these 50% win rates, right? So it's just, if you focus on your job, all things equal, you can't win every single team fight, you can't win any like every single duel. You're just trying to win the majority of them. And you're trying to do your job better, and that's how you win. You know, it's grinding's a long game because of this, right? Because sometimes even if you do have 55-60% win rate in these duels and team fights, sometimes you still lose just because randomness. But that's how you climb and how you improve. Oh my god, that Lucio.
One, I was surprised that I missed that, and then I was just like, wait, he's standing still.
Yeah. I mean, like, so you killed the Widow, came back, and got the cherry with the
wait,
pulse bomb, right? So.
Yeah.
Certainly did enough to win there.
Yeah.
Like,
No, they get this.
do you
It's a
still
4-3.
feel like you made a mistake and killed the Widow?
No, now that I realized that it was the Diva Bomb.
Okay, yeah. Also, look, I mean, I don't want to get too in too many kinds of things, but like, there at the end of the point, trading is in your favor, right? Because you have
Very much
really
so.
good respawn. So like, if you can get 2 kills, and then keep the point alive long enough for your team to get back.
There's the flash
you're-
kill.
Yeah, I'm doing whatever.
I mean, yeah,
but,
so
like,
this is kind of like, you know, actually, Deadly, you're on this point. I'll let you keep going.
sure.
Just
yeah.
talk about like the thing that I wanted to say, like the situation, trading where we were, and then trade, even if he did trade in this situation, the difference between the two of them.
Yeah, so like trading there at third point when they're trying to attack, right? Your team has the spawn advantage. So any kill you can get is going to hurt them a lot more than you. So like if you sacrifice yourself to get a kill and you're stalling the card out a little bit, like for example, the Lucio, like that's a win for you, especially if it's on a high priority target like the supports, which are sustaining them in this long fight where the respawns and people coming back are low, right?
I see what
and
you
then
mean, though, yeah.
Yeah, and so like, I mean, when you're coming and dying here, like, I mean, you
got
didn't
2
need
IP.
you didn't need to come in here and die.
I didn't even need to go
But
there
like,
at
then
all.
look at
Yeah.
their respawn, right? Like, then now they're going to like be coming in. If you get this kill right here, it doesn't really matter because they're just coming out of like spawn. Like, there's no like really big advantage to be diving their spawn here and like trying to get like an extra kill.
Yep.
Because they're
you're right.
just gonna be back fairly quickly and then have an advantage 6v5 against your team if you don't kill them. Like
I
here.
kind of got little homing missile mode there where
Yeah.
I knew that I did damage to him and I just went for it
Yeah.
without really realizing when I could have just reset, got back into a better positioning like on the high grounds up there.
All right.
So after this round is over, you could just kind of end the VOD because somebody leaves and we just win because somebody leaves and
All right.
we push it further.
Okay. Okay, once again, your first thing should be coming out trying to get an annoying position, not on the cart. Unless like your whole team is like fighting, like they're on the cart and it's overtime or something. But like before there's no fight going, you should be playing this left side, trying to get the high ground, contest the Widow, something like that. Create
Right.
another angle of pressure so it makes it difficult for this hog to just walk straight up, or the tanks to walk straight up and just take the cart for free. So you can see like you're dying sort of in a position where you're really not providing any value to your team.
Right. It was just shooting from the same angles. It wasn't taking anyone away from them. It was just they were able to kill me while killing them too.
Yep. And they had a Moira and a Lucio, 2 AoE healers. I mean, the chance of you being able to get a kill in the middle of this, which is essentially a brawl comp, is very, very low. I think they'll cap here.
Yeah, Yeah, they do, and then I think somebody leaves after this, and we wind up winning after it.
All right. Well, we sure talked about a lot.
Yeah, that was a deep dive. Oh my
I
God.
understand it though, because I don't understand the small dives. I only understand it if I can understand the basis and fundamentals of where it came from. So this was actually really helpful.
Okay, good. Could you recap to me what main things that you felt like you want to improve on and work on? You don't
So
have to go too deep, but
no problem. There's a lot of I actually wrote a lot of this stuff down. To one, if I'm gonna play competitive, to set a goal and to try to achieve that goal, and whether or not I do or not, don't let that be an indicator of, whether or not I'm good at the game or etc. But to get out of the 1v6 mindset, and when playing Widow, there's kind of four modes you want to go with. Either accept the duel, deny the duel, be the one to propose the duel, or kind of, just give her no option but to fight you. That actually helped a lot because I understand that more than just saying like, oh, you shouldn't shoot the Widow or you should shoot the Widow or like just shoot the tanks. So that's something I took from that for the Widow part. As far as the Tracer part, a big thing I took from that was the like positional advantages of really don't put yourself in the same spot as your team, and not only that, but put yourself in a spot that's advantageous to your team.
mm-hmm.
Don't go for the 1v6 one clips. And now that I know Moira and Lucio are on the lower part of that kill tier list, I can ignore them a little bit more. But it's mostly about just my positioning and what I'm doing during the game and being conscious of what I'm doing during the game and where my team is. Was what I feel I got
Yeah.
from that.
I mean, positioning is such a massive, massive concept, right? Positioning is like Zarya right-clicking, right? It changes as you go higher. You're never going to stop learning positioning, and positioning is going to change as you get to Grandmaster and Top 500 and everything like that. But trying to actually determine what position to take, how aggressive, are you going to be aiming for more like flank assassinations? Are you going to be, positioning more aggressively to have more impact during the actual team fight? All of these things are going to change based off of the context of the situation that you find yourself in, based off of the composition that you're playing, the composition that the enemy's playing, the individual skill and comfort that you are in taking specific duels. Sometimes you'll find a Zenyatta who you can just farm, and other times you'll find a Zenyatta who is just destroying you, right? Yep. So it's like, there's going to be not only the context of the map and where the objective is and the time and the compositions, but also like how you're getting a feel for each person is playing. And a lot of that is going to be coming like, in order to make these good decisions from to make these good decisions about where to position, it is going to require you to just in general be trying to be thinking about more things, asking the right questions, and being aware of what's going on as well. So, I think that I would just be like, yes, you've identified that positioning is the absolute thing that you need to work on. But it would take a long time for Deadly to kind of like point out each and every single one of these positions. Like I assume if you play Gibraltar Tracer, second or third point, you're going to be a monster already, right? But in order for you to kind of figure out where these positions are on your own in the other 20-some maps or something like that, you're going to have to be thinking about that yourself. Maybe go into the custom range to look around, get some ideas, and then during the game, you're going to have to just be more aware of the compositions because it's not Mystery Hero. Compositions matter, and positioning as well.
Get out of arcade mindset.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said with on Gibraltar, like once I understand something and why it's advantageous, like it's just in my reservoir now. So like I'll be using that a lot more on Gibraltar, and then trying to find it everywhere else. Yeah,
but it's like this is the difference between like knowledge and understanding, is that you can know that that's the right position because Deadly told you, but if you kind of understand why it's the right position, you can find the good positions in other maps without Deadly having, you don't want to turn this, like, especially if you're wanting to really be competitive, you have to go beyond route knowledge. You have to go into critical thinking.
It's the concept of why that position's good, not just being there is good because of the position.
And then you know when you can remix those ideas, when you need to play by the rules, or when you can subvert them based off of the situation. So, yes. I appreciate you coming on, Zach. I hope that you learned a lot from it. And so feel free to DM either myself or Deadly tomorrow. It's like most people will usually, when they have these VODs, something can make sense. And then the next day you're like, but what did Jayne mean by? Or like, what did Deadly say? Or it might not make sense the next day, right? So if you find that situation where even if you're rewatching the VOD, you don't quite get it, you don't have to book a full session. Just like DM one of us. We'll be happy to kind of help clear up or clarify what we were talking about. But yeah.
For sure.
I hope you enjoyed the session.
Oh, absolutely did. I hope you guys did too.
All right. Thanks, Zach.
Have a nice one.
It's just like my pet peeve in general is just wasted potential. So,
Yeah.
like, I mean, I rarely kind of go after somebody that hard, but like very rarely. I'm trying to think about like there's probably 2 or 3 maybe VODs out there already where I've gone that hard on somebody, but it's like somebody who's clearly capable, but just like making excuses and like squandering what I'm at least feeling is quite a lot of potential. Yeah, wasted. Nothing pisses me off in this world more than somebody wasting their potential. So I get a little bit jazzed when I find somebody like that.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll
Well,
see if
yeah.
they can realize their potential.
I'm hoping so.